And welcome to another great episode of Tampa Fishing Outfitters live fishing report here in Tampa, Florida, at Tampa Fishing Outfitters.
Tampa, Florida.
We're
all worldwide now, so you have to.
That's where we're at.
You have to specify.
We are in Tampa, so that's about all the information we can give on as far as fishing. So we had that question come up the other day, but we're here, guys. Myself, Captain Travis Yaeckel in the studio. My main man, Captain Rick Liles, and Captain Jason Prieto here for another great night of talking some fishing. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight. And
got a big tech show tonight.
Hey guys,
got a tech show.
This is what we're gonna talk.
That is the subject matter for the evening.
That's
Props.
it, baby.
I'm done. This thing's getting heavy.
Props.
We got,
propellers.
Got a lot of good stuff to cover on that, and I'm sure I'm going to learn something tonight too, because both of these guys are more technical on that than I am, and Jason has it dialed in. So,
dude, everybody's
taking notes.
Horsepower.
I'm taking notes.
This is where the horsepower ends and turns into power.
Power, just plain power.
That's where you get it.
But yeah, we got. We're going to go over 3-blade versus 4-blade, what the pitch on the prop is, and what you need, cup, diameter, the pros and cons of stainless versus aluminum, what the zinc plate's for, hub kits, and the tools you need, and other anything else that comes up on the prop.
And here's the deal, guys. This is an interactive show, so ask your questions.
Ask questions.
You got a question
as we go, and we'll answer them.
Absolutely.
We don't know it. We'll make something up.
And yeah, we're going to answer questions.
We always do.
Yeah. Listen, I don't claim to be an expert. I do know a little bit about props, but this is a huge deal because I can't tell you. I'd say 6 or 7 out of 10 people that have boats, they're really in question about props.
I would bet it's more like 9 out of 10.
You're probably right. Sometimes I'm surprised by the people that don't know anything about props, honestly. And it's not rocket science, but I mean there is some stuff that goes into it. But honestly,
I know a little bit about props, and you kind of fine-tuned me and got my boat running substantially better once you kind of took on that task. So. And I thought I was propped out pretty good, so there was always room for improvement. That's our giveaway tonight. It's a dive and plug from here. It's their brand, and on the trivia question, that's what we're giving out. So when we give the trivia question, first one with the correct answer gets a.
That's an awesome looking trolling plug for groupers right now.
Yep, that's
a hot item in the bay.
And it's probably pretty accurate with matching the hatch somewhat
VMC
because
hooks.
that's the mackerel pattern, and we still got mackerel in the bay. So
giddy
up,
I like
giddy
it.
up.
I like it.
All right. Well, before we get into props, and we're going to kind of get into
excited.
That. Yeah, I know you are. He talked about it all the way up here, but the trivia question pertains to props. And this is
give it away now.
This is.
You gonna let her go now?
You want to go ahead and let her go?
You want to let her go?
I mean, I think
matter.
This is gonna be a good.
You think it'll be a tough one?
It might be.
Well, let her go.
What is the ideal prop slip ratio
or percentage?
I'm not
real sure how you want to word that.
Oh, no.
Percent ratio, whatever. We'll go percent.
I just wrote down what you told me. What is the ideal percent prop slip ratio?
So we're looking for a percentage.
We're looking for a percentage.
Looking for a percentage.
And,
dig that one up.
Google
that one.
Idea. That's it. So anyway, let's start with pitch, Jason, on a prop, and then we're going to get into the 3-blade versus the 4-blade, and we'll go with after that we're going to touch on the cup diameter and all that stuff. But
a lot
pitch
of times,
on a prop, people hear that. What pitch is your prop? And a lot of people go,
if you can see,
I don't know.
I'm going to have to stand up. If you can see the angle, this is your pitch. This particular prop, Mercury makes this prop. Everybody knows I'm a Mercury guy, but this one runs good on the Suzuki too, don't it?
What is that? Is that the Eco prop?
That's the Eco.
It is.
I will tell you right now,
a good prop.
I've ran a lot of props. I have yet to see a prop do what this prop does. There's a lot of different variances of props. Mercury in particular has taken this one. I think Yamaha makes one somewhat close to this. They've taken the benefit of a 3-blade, and they've gotten, in my opinion, the benefit out of a 4-blade and kind of converted into one. There's a couple things that you really need to look at when you talk props.
Well, let's talk pitch. Let's talk pitch right now.
Well, it kind of all goes together. Your pitch is the angle of the blade.
What is the pitch?
The pitch is the angle of the blade right here, and that's the term I use. Somebody that knows props more than me might use a technical
and for
term.
for the guys that don't have an idea, you're looking for a number, say 18 to 22, 23.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
On a 3-blade prop, I run a 23.
You can see that, and I got it upside down.
On a 4-blade, I run a 21.
That right there is a 16
That's
by
the
18
diameter.
That's your
pitch.
diameter.
RH stands for right hand. So the 16 diameter is the diameter of the prop, which is from tip to tip or tip, somewhere from here to here.
The most outer part of the
overall
diameter of the prop.
There's a lot of this day and age with step hauls, with padded hauls, bass boats in particular, step hauls, traditional V hauls. Now we got tunnel hauls. There are so many variances of props that you can run. It's really honestly finding the right prop for your boat is you getting out on the water with about 3 different ones
and testing it
and doing testing. That's what I've done.
Now,
but you also, when you do that, you have to understand a few key elements before you get in your boat.
The one thing that and this for us is like a no-brainer. It's like, okay, duh, but like a 23 pitch prop is a go fast prop versus a 18 is something you would see, or a 17 even you would see like on trawlers and stuff like that. You're not gonna. These go fast boats have higher pitch props.
Yes, and so the higher you go up on, and that's good. I know where you're going with this. The higher you go up in pitch, the more torque or engine horsepower that it's going to take.
Let's talk some torque, baby.
And that's where it's key. I tell you the common problem with props. People get on a boat, and you need to know what your max RPM is. 9 times out of 10, you want your motor pretty close to max RPM. You can actually do damage to an engine by lugging it down. Good example. My motor is a 350 Verado. Max RPM range on that is 58 to 6,400. You want to be a little closer to 6,400 because 58, you're actually going to lose whole shot. Although in theory, it's kind of opposite of your car. Your car has transmission.
And that's going to vary by motor manufacturer and motor itself. So, you know, refer to your motor manufacturer's handbook on what the maximum RPM is on that particular motor that you're running. But where Jason was going, and I'll kind of dummy it down, but basically,
Chris Howe, you're not allowed to answer. He's right there. He's right there.
Chris got it. We'll talk about that in a second. But what Jason, I think, is trying to explain is the fact that you want to get a prop that when you're at full throttle, you're really close to the maximum RPMs on your motor.
There's going to be a range.
Now, and as we go, you know, some of the things as you get technical, loading a boat, how much fuel you have, whether your live wells are full, you know, there's a lot of different things that will affect how that prop performs, and you may underpitch or overpitch based on what you see there. But the idea for propping a boat right is when you're at full throttle, you're real close to
your red line,
to the full RPMs rated on your motor.
Let's just keep it simple. The higher pitch you go, the worse your hole shot's going to get.
Correct.
And it don't necessarily mean that your boat's going to go faster because you're loading the motor down. Think of it as starting. If you have a stick shift, think about starting off in second gear. It just don't perform well, and that's basically what you're doing.
Well, what Marcus Huffman's got there, that's how I've always thought of it. I've always called pitch what he's referring to as rate.
Yeah, But
that's what I've always, the jello thing he's talking about, that's the way it was explained to me years ago, is if you turn that prop and you don't have no slip, the distance you go, and he uses jello as a what you would look it in, like a 19 will go 19 inches in that jello, a 23 will go 23 inches, which don't seem like much, but when you're turning 4,000 RPMs or 5,000 RPMs, each one of those being 3 or 4 inches, that's That's substantial.
Well, I'm gonna throw this out. So there's a couple things that determine your RPM. It's pitch and diameter. Number one will be pitch. 2 is diameter. Diameter is not as big of an issue, but what they've done, I will tell you, and I'm a Mercury guy, but I'm going to tell you this prop, and the Yamaha guys you have to take off your zinc anode in the back to run it. You have to get a flat one.
Right.
But what they have done, what Mercury's done with this diameter prop, is if you can see, and I wish I had a 13. This is a 16-inch diameter. So what they've done with that 16-inch diameter is they're able to the diameter of the blade surface is huge here.
Right.
So you're kind of getting that 4-blade whole shot in mid-range and lift. You get a lot of stern lift, a lot of overall lift. So you're lifting the boat out of this prop, but you're also getting that push out of a 3-blade. In my experience, 4-blade versus 3-blade, good example. A Bravo 1 FS 4-stroke. It's a racing prop. It's a prop you run on your boat. Runs like crap on my boat, and I'll tell you why. It runs top end. It's a fast prop. For a lot of the bass guys run it. I did some research when I ordered it. The whole shot is not good, and the mid-range fuel economy is not good.
See, it gave me a better whole shot, and my boat performs great with it.
And it has nothing to do with your boat. It has to do with me running a Verado and you running a Yamaha. And that's what I'm telling you. It's like one of them things. It's like trying on shoes. You got to figure out what shoes work for your feet. If your feet are going to be different than my feet. Every boat is different. You need to get a baseline to figure out where you need to be. This prop here, I've rode on multiple boats, Canyon Bay and a Pathfinder, and actually did quite a bit of testing because when I got my Pathfinder, there's me, Will Shook, and I think one other guy running Verados. There's no testing out there with Verados.
Right.
And I started with this, and I really honestly, with it being a step haul, with a step haul, traditionally you're fighting getting the bow up because it's pushing the back up with this way that the step haul is designed. I really thought I was going to be in a 4-blade Bravo 1, and it ran good, but it did not do what this prop did mid-range. For me, this prop was within a half a mile an hour at wide open throttle. It ran 50, right at 58, 57 point something, and the whole shot was night and day different. And the fuel economy, and that's the nice thing about today's motors. They interact with the GPS. You're getting readings that you would never get. It tells me miles per gallon. This prop, unloaded, gets 3.6 miles per gallon at like 32, 33, 35 mile an hour. The Bravo 1, and that's the range we always run. I was losing a half a mile a gallon with the Bravo.
Wow.
At cruise.
Wow.
So you're talking, when you're running every day, there's a big difference.
A huge difference. Yeah.
But how Mercury is doing the blade surface, if you see this, is huge blades on this thing and the diameter. So they're, in my opinion, it's kind of like a 4-blade and a 3-blade mixed together. You get the benefits of both. It's a really good prop. They make it, now this is the Inertia Eco. They make a regular Inertia. Totally different prop. This prop bites a lot. A regular Inertia.
It's got quite a bit of cup.
Well,
in
the
it
cupping I had put in, that's not factory.
But mine has a little bit of cup in it too.
Yeah, but you're getting more. It's more blade surface on these. But the regular Inertia, just if you guys go talk Inertia, you got to say Eco. Regular Inertia is way different. It's a 13 and a half diameter and small prop.
So explain the cup to them.
The cup, so your cup, and you can't see it, but
you can feel it. You can definitely feel that when you.
So if you get a prop, so you
cup
guys
is this top part of the blade right here that you'll feel where it kind of grips your hand.
So if you guys are running flats boats, elevated surfaces, you're jacking the jack plate up, and you got Travis. You went through this with your Canyon Bay. The Suzuki prop you had
yeah, we did some testing.
It was horrible for that different application.
Things. Yeah.
But what cupping does, this little lip, you'll get right here. You'll feel a little lip on a prop, and what cup does is it allows you to run the motor higher, so you're sucking air, but it doesn't lose a bite. You would not think that little bit of edge makes such a big difference, but it does. Step hauls, in my experience, what I actually did with this prop is, because I'm getting a little technical, but the barrel, I had the barrel cut down on this, and I had cupping put in here because on a step haul, you get a lot of air interference with the water because there's pulling air with the water to create the step effect.
Well, and something else is, if you don't think that cupping makes a difference, as your props start to wear and as you lose the diameter in them, and you're losing this edge out here, and you're losing that cup, see how much your motor bites and what your RPMs change.
Now I'm going to throw something else too, Rick, because we're probably confusing people when I'm telling you saying a 4-blade runs great, and I'm telling you it runs like crap. Well, it's different motors like different things,
and different boats too. I mean, you can't just talk about the motor because all the different types of boats are you're gonna go in all different kinds of ways. I mean, like my boat when I first got it, I was running a 4-blade 22, and I had basically no lift on the boat. I mean, I could get it up, but I'm running a porter bracket now, so it's a little bit different than a jack plate. So, but in some of the areas that I would normally run, I wanted to get that motor out of the water a little bit, and I was blowing the prop out.
Sure.
So what I ended up doing was I went down to Leading Edge down at Rich, and he ended up putting too much cup in it, and it was a opposite effect. Getting up out of the hole was a nightmare. Now, once it got up, it ran great, but what I found was with the cup, what it did was it didn't give my boat a smooth ride. It would almost had too much bite, and it kind of didn't let the boat run as soft as it should have.
What happened with Travis's boat was I ran it, and I said, Travis, there's no way, because I've got a lot of hours on that boat.
Sure.
I've ran them for 10 years. I ran them with Yamahas and I ran them with Mercury's. I haven't ran with Suzuki. I got in this boat, and the prop he had was a huge diameter 4-blade, and the prop ran good, but the second that you put the jack plate up, it would just not. I'm not talking like blowout, like almost like you pulled the engine out of the water, and then it would grab again. So the prop is probably more for like an offshore application where you're not running elevated surfaces.
Exactly.
If you're running in the bay and you got a jack plate, if you go on their website, you go to Mercury and then go one step better, go to Mercury Racing props. They balance these things.
Yeah.
They go through, and the prop you have is a Bravo FS. They take a Bravo, they rework it by hand, and they balance it, finish it, and cup it.
I'm pleased with mine.
And so anyways, but there's another company out there, PowerTech makes some pretty good props. A couple good props, if you run flats boats or bay boats, common good props is for PowerTech, a PowerTech 4-blade OFX. OFX is and you just go with whatever pitch. They're an elevated surface prop. Another good 4-blade, I like the Bravos. A lot of people run the Rev 4 Mercuries. I really don't like them. I think you turn. Here's my thing with the. I think you turn a lot of RPMs at cruise, but they have good hole shot. My deal with the 3-blade versus 4-blade is I've always liked the 4-blade, but I never get what I want out of a 4-blade. And I finally just hung it up on a 4-blade, especially when they came out with this. If you're wanting to cruise, you at the same RPM almost every time on the boats I've ran. If you're running 35 at 4,000 RPMs and you put a 4-blade on there with the same pitch and right where you need to be as far as RPMs, you're going to run like 32 or 31. You're going to lose 3 to 4 mile an hour in the cruise range, and your fuel economy is going to go down. So, and that's not always the case, but that's been the case with every boat I've ran, a 24 to 26-foot bay boat.
I think when you get into those skiffs, when you get into those flats boats, I think that's really where the 4-blades really perform.
You need there's a few things.
That to me, that's where I've seen a big difference in We ran a lake and bay for a little while.
Yeah, but you don't care about fuel economy.
Point being, that's what I mean. Is it's a totally different animal. I mean, for us, I'm looking for fuel economy, ride, and pretty much hole shot and lift.
Hole shot.
Those are the two.
That's what I'm
looking for. I say 4 major things that
Yeah.
I'm looking for. Outside of that, I don't really care.
You got a question?
That's right
here.
up your alley right here. Because
What you got?
Your cousin's got OFX.
That's the OFX.
What pitch are you running?
I believe we're running a 21.
So
I believe is what we're running.
So you got
I
a
have to find out, but it's
250.
either a 21 or a 22.
If he's going, and okay, so David, if you're running an F225, that's a different motor than the 250.
Yeah.
I would probably shoot for a 19. I tell you what, Dave, I will tell you this. If you call PowerTech, their customer support's pretty good. Tell them what motor you got. Tell them what boat you're running. I have not ran that OFX, but you said it runs really good.
It runs great on that boat. It was a
24.
night and day difference when we put that boat on there, or that prop on that boat. It was like complete night and day. And we had a similar issue. This was I want to say it's like an 08 Pathfinder 24 tournament, and we put an OFX 4-blade. I believe it's a 21,
and you could not lift the motor. You got shallow running was a nightmare. Jumping up in shallow water was a nightmare. And instantly you put that prop on there, man, it was like a totally different boat.
Well, David's got a question here.
Hold these thoughts. We'll get to that. We need to take a break here. We're at our breaking point.
Alrighty.
Not to shut y'all down.
I like it.
But we're there.
Man,
we are there.
We're the hey. I'm the break cop. So anyway, this is Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. We'll be right back in a minute. Jason, you get all excited about this, man. I mean, you see the gleam in his eye? It's good. No, I love the passion.
Hold on a second here, guys.
There's so much to cover.
Hang on a second here.
What is with this fucking software? Probably shouldn't be cussing. Are we still on?
I think we're still rolling, man. This is the second time in a row it's happened to us here, guys. I think we are still on. If we're still on there, if you can still see us, say something.
Software just locked up on us again. Wirecast, step your game up, man.
You gotta be kidding me. All right, I think we're still on, boys. Keep rolling it.
Yeah,
I think we're still good.
We're still rolling.
Yeah,
we're on. We're on.
Well,
all right.
Software's hung up. Bottom computer's hung up.
Hey, let it roll,
where's
baby.
our tech guy?
Let it roll, man. You see it right there.
Well, anyways, we're going back to props.
We're going back to props.
All right, finish your story.
What story was I telling? I don't know. The software's got me all jacked up.
Travis was talking about they had a 21 and it made the boat jump up.
We basically, basically we ended up finding out right then and there, man, that it was definitely a prop issue. We actually thought maybe there was some issue with the boat, man, to be honest with you, because it really did run like crap. And it made a big difference just changing props. And so there's a lot of people out there that maybe their boat doesn't run the way they like it to. And there's some ways around
talking to us.
Getting it to run right. And a prop is a big part of a boat. And people don't think it's that important. You know, I'll throw a prop on it and go. And for most people, that's true. You know, you want it to run down the river and do your deal. As long as it goes, it goes. But when you start getting into dialing in fuel economy, performance, and all that other things, taking a look at that prop and getting it right is where it's at, man, for sure.
Well, before we're going to take a little break from props, and then we're going to get back and we're going to talk about the pros and cons versus of stainless steel versus aluminum. But before we do that, we need to pump what's going on here this weekend.
That's right. So Tampa Fishing Outfitters is having. You've probably seen it on Facebook and on social media. If you're at the Real Animals Fishing Show this weekend, you probably got a flyer or something there. But basically, Black Friday they're having a big sale here in the store from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's 30% off. A lot of different items. It's not everything, but a lot of the different items will be on sale for 30% off. That's from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., everything's going to be 20% off. So that's another good deal. And then from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. till they close is when they're going to have a grab bag, which is kind of cool. You're going to get to reach in, grab something out of the bucket or whatever they've got, and that's going to determine how much you get off of your purchase for that day. Right. So get in on Friday. You're going to get anywhere from 5 to 30% off depending on what time you come in. Got some awesome deals going on. If you miss us on Friday, you can come in on Saturday. They're going to have Small Business Saturday. That's 15% off anything in the store.
And
anything in the store.
Also on Friday,
so
the Castnet trade-in.
And that's a big deal we were going to talk about.
That's a huge deal right there.
I was going to go leave that for my product, but I'll mention it one more time. The Castnet deal, 40% off any Castnet, any humpback Castnet that you bring in. If you bring in a similar Castnet, in other words, if you bring in a 10-foot Castnet, whether it's a Calusa, whether it's a Tim Wade, whether it's a Barracuda, whether it's a West Coast spreader, whatever it is, as long as it's a 10-foot net, you bring it in. You can trade that in at TFO and get a brand new humpback net for 40% off. So that's a pretty good deal. Really good deal.
Great deal.
If you're looking to get cast nets right now is probably a really good time to go get one. Depending on who you pick. They kind of got the market cornered on that. But come check us out at Tampa Fishing Outfitters, the humpback cast net right here. bring your old one in, trade it out, get you a brand new humpback, man. Also, pump it one more time. We got the photo contest going on.
Yes.
If you haven't already entered that, which I know a lot of folks haven't, we tried to make it a little bit easier and spread the group to a couple other groups and try to get everybody exposed to it. And basically, you go to our Tampa Fishing Outfitters photo contest group on Facebook. When you become a member of the group, you can post a photo. We're going to put a team together that's going to vote on the photo. We're going to do that drawing. I believe it's December 13th. Or not drawing, but we're going to select a winner on the show live. And they're going to be able to come down and get a brand new 10-foot 3/8 humpback cast net. So get your photos uploaded to the page or to the group. And, share it, do what you got to do. Leave us a story about why it's special to you, and you might just win yourself a new humpback cast net.
It's $200-something value.
$230 value.
That's it, baby.
And, it's free. All you got to do is submit some photos, like our page, subscribe to our YouTube page, and you're good to go. So I want to go back to props because I really want to I want to cover a basics because we're getting some people that want miles per gallon, wide open throttle, range. Basically, to keep it simple, if you don't know where to start with your boat, you need to figure out what pitch you have on the boat currently.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go out there. You need to run it. Probably you can run it full fuel, half a fuel, kind of half load it, peg it, run it wide open, trim it out, see what RPMs you're at. If your motor, 6,000 is a pretty common, 6,100 is pretty common, Yamaha. So
yeah,
right
Mercury's a little higher, but
yeah,
that 6,000 range is about.
If you're at 6,000 RPMs, you're it. That's it. Like if you got a Yamaha 300, 250, if you're 59, 58, 6,000, you're propped out right. Now that doesn't say that if the whole shot's horrible, you just don't like the way it runs. Try a different style prop. If you start looking at props, there's different variations of these props. From blade surface, this has got a big blade surface. If you look at an OFX PowerTech 4-blade, they got cut blades.
Yeah.
They're actually short cut blades with a ton of cup. There's a bunch of different things. You need to figure out where your RPMs are. If you're there and you don't like it, you want to get a new prop, you need to figure out what you want out of that prop. Do you want wide open speed? Do you want fuel economy? Do you want the best cruise?
Whole shot.
Do you want whole shot? Because there's a prop for everything.
Right.
And I'll tell you something that I did on my boat, and real quick I'll tell a story, and I know you want to talk about the hub kit, but basically when I was doing prop testing on my boat, the props that you guys were running on the Mercuries were lower pitch than what I'm using on my boat. But what I did was Jason had an 18 pitch Eco Inertia, and I ran it on my boat, and I hit the rev limiter almost instantly at full throttle. But what it did was it gave me a good idea how that prop was going to run, how it was going to ride in my boat, what kind of whole shot, for the most part, that I was going to get. And from there, I took that, and I actually bought a 21. I could probably turn a 22 if I really wanted to. But for me, as a guide, knowing that I, more often than not, am loading that boat down, I underpitched my prop by 1. That way, when I load that thing down with, say, a full tank of gas or 3/4 and 4 or 5 people, I'm still right there. So it all according to how you're going to run your boat. I think charter captains, have to look at it on a little bit different.
Well, it all else
scale
fails,
sometimes.
go down a pitch.
Exactly, that's where I'm going with
it. If you're on the fence, and I tell you what now, so props used to go in 2-pitch increments. They now go with these Ecos. They go in half-pitch increments. And I will tell you the difference too on props. This is an 18. If you go to a 19, I actually had, and I'll tell you a good guy, if you got a prop and you want to get it reworked, guy does an awesome job, man. He's in there like a professor with he's got his
Rich, man.
Yeah, Rich at Leading Edge and Bradenton. The guy's reasonable. He did cut the barrel and put cup in this like $130, but he'll redid a prop $130, look brand new. And he'll spend time with you. He'll talk your ear off. He likes to talk. But he knows props. He does a lot of the race guys' props. But the pitch is important, but every prop is different. An 18 pitch, example, this is an Inertia Eco. Same motor, same boat. I could turn this 18, I'm at 6,300. I'd run an 18.5, I'm at 62. I go to a regular Inertia, 21 pitch that Brian's got. I could turn it 64 something.
Yeah.
And it's the diameter in the blade surface. So you have to run each prop.
Like you said, it's what you want. You know, like these bass tournament fishermen. They got one speed. It's wide open.
They don't care about fuel.
They don't care about that. They don't.
And not even really hole shot as much.
They don't even care about hole shots.
Right.
Where we're looking at a hole shot because we're fishing a lot of shallow water. We're looking at hole shots. We're definitely looking at fuel efficiency.
I'm looking at my fuel gauge all the time.
Because, you know, I'm not looking for top-end speed. I could care less. I'm not gonna, any time I run over about 27 miles per hour anyway, I'm going back picking up hats. So, you know, I don't want to go fast. I just want to get out of the hole quick, get good fuel efficiency, and get to where I'm going. Where there's a lot of other applications out there of guys fishing or guys boating. They don't want what I want.
I tell you what, I'm a +3 mile per gallon kind of guy. If it's not above 3,
it ain't for me.
It ain't for me, baby. Honestly, unless I got to run and get back for catching bait or get a client back or client passes out in the boat or something like that. That's the only time I really need that. But
what's really surprised me, this prop is I'm telling you, man, it's a game changer.
Oh no,
best fuel economy, best hole shot, and it's within that half a mile an hour of any prop I put on the boat. Both actually, it's the fastest one on a Canyon Bay 2400 with a 300 Verado or 350 Verado. With this, an 18.5, it runs 62.3.
That's why I was real curious to see how I'd turn a 22, because I can get that 21 going, and I'm right there. I'm actually over on some cases, but when I think I had the boat. What did we run it? Almost 60, like right at 60 with my original 4-blade, but I just had no lift.
Yeah.
So,
but to me that doesn't matter. Like when you start talking about I ran 60 or I ran 61 or I ran 62, unless you're a bass guy or unless you're some, you know, really enthusiastic red fisherman who only has one spot to go to, it really doesn't matter.
We got a question here. Will asked, how much more power can you get out of a prop on a twin application? Well, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's apples to apples. You just need to figure out each engine's going to turn. They need to be within RPM range. And when you start getting into the yellow fins, almost everything offshore is typically a step haul. It's a different animal.
When we talking twin prop, are we talking like dual counter rotating prop, or are we talking about twin engine?
Twin application.
Twin engine.
And the other, and I don't know the answer to that. Bo also asked. He says, so if it's worn down, he can rebuild, or what do you mean by that?
Absolutely.
Bo, what he can do is you can see
he can make her new again.
If you got wear on your edge, he can't add material, but what he can do, you would be surprised. There's little scratches in this prop, and honestly, that slows a prop down. It doesn't make it go through the water. You're talking restriction that's running through the water, a smoother surface. This one's got a little bit of wear. It's not bad, but what he'll do is he'll run that edge and make it smooth, run it through the belt sander, and then he'll run it through the polisher, and then he'll add some cup here. He can also knock a prop pitch up or down one pitch. So actually it might be 2 pitch. I will tell you, when you start beating a prop around, especially the inertia and the inertia eco is not, it's a stainless T3 alloy. This stuff, and he'll tell you, these props right here are way harder than a stainless prop. He has a hard time beating cup into them. When you do beat cup into it, it's not, if you got an 18 and you make it a 19, it's not going to be the same as going and buying a 19 because that's coming out of a mold that they heat. But you can knock the pitch around a little bit. If you have a worn prop, take it to them. It's probably, if you've taken meat or metal, so to speak, off the prop, it's not going to be the same.
You're never going to get it the same.
Replace, but you can get it pretty close.
No, he'll make it. Nice.
And that's the nice thing about him is you ask him the question, tell him what your boat's doing, and he's got a pretty good idea of what he needs to do to the prop. And he's a specialist when it comes to it.
By the way, Rich doesn't even know that I'm mentioning him on our show.
Yeah.
But the guy's just cool.
He's
like
awesome.
We pay him to do our props. Like since I went to Step Hall, going into it, I had an educated theory of what I thought I needed. I needed bow lift. Fortunately enough, one of the big downfalls of Step Hall is getting your bow out of the water. Some boats actually bow steer where they can't get the nose up. Right. The way you bring the bow up is with your trim. That actually creates bow lift. With some Step Halls, you can't get enough trim to get the bow lift. So there's a few things that you can do. One is cut the barrel on a prop. 2 is add cupping to it. You add a lot of cup. The more cup, the more bow lift you get, the more bite you get. The more when you trim, you're getting the more out of your trim. So first thing I did was I had one that was cut, and I liked it. It ran a little bit better.
They're loud.
Loud though, yeah. But on a step haul, that's the one down thing I don't like is you hear exhaust all the time. Right. So you don't.
You're getting that air.
I did not like. And good example. I did not like this prop with a cut barrel on a Canyon Bay at all. Didn't like it. Just liked it at the factory. So he can do a lot of stuff. He can make recommendations based on the information you give him. But it's like going to the doctor. If you blow your knee out and you go tell the doctor, you don't tell him a whole lot. Well, he don't know what he's dealing with. Right. So when you go there and talk to him about a prop, tell him what your max RPMs are. Make sure that you're trimming the motor out. Make sure you're getting – if you leave a motor tucked all the way in, especially on a Canyon Bay with a porter bracket, you run it wide open, it ain't going to run right. No. You have to know how to run the boat. That trim, I can take my boat and get at 4,000 RPMs, I can get close to 3 or over 3 miles to gallon, or I can trim it all the way down, and it'll get maybe 2.2. Like that trim is what you're bringing more. The more surface you can get out of the water, right. That's less surface drag. Less drag. It's real simple, but people don't really get it.
Well, you can hear. Yeah, I can close my eyes, and anybody can do this in their boat and hit my tilt and trim, and I don't even have to.
You'll know. You'll feel it.
I don't do this because I don't want to run into something. But I mean,
he does it every morning. That's how he actually gets your dial in.
It's like Ricky Bobby, the blindfold with a tiger in the boat.
Let her eat. But you can hear that. You can hear that water if you trim her. Go down with the tabs. You can hear that water from back there. You can hear it moving forward.
Yep.
And then do it and go back, and then you'll get that perfect spot.
Well, and David added a good thing. Take your tabs out of the equation. Tabs all the way up.
Yeah.
I always say if a boat needs tabs to run normal with no weight in it, it's probably got some issues. Now you put weight, that's different.
We're talking totally different things.
But yeah, you want to take your tabs out of the equation because that will change your speed.
You got people moving around the boat.
Oh yeah, that's what tabs are for.
Exactly.
And there's just a lot of variances. It's really one of them things, but that you have to feel. One other thing that you need to know, very important, is how much time we got.
We're just rolling.
We got 18 minutes.
Okay. You need to know your gear case, gear ratio. Sounds complicated. It's not. Most of them, except for old Zuki over here, Zuki goes way off in left field on their ratios. And that's why we had a hard time propping yours out.
It's just a different. I tell you what, that is a beast of a lower unit. I can promise you that. There's
what you want.
A lot going on there.
And I'm just picking on Travis, but they do have a very weird gear ratio. Your gear ratio is going to be a number like a Yamaha is typically a 185 to 1. A 185 gear case. Mercury is a 185, except for the Pro Series Verados are 175. The lower that number, the more less pitch prop you're going to have to run more than likely. A lot of bass guys run 175. Suzuki is like a 2.2. It's way off in left field.
Yeah, it's up there. That's why I said too is those first fall back to your motor operator's manual, whatever. Look at what they suggest for that particular motor, and then kind of go off of that based on whatever haul you're running. And that's where you're going to kind of dial it all in. But
somebody corrected me, 2.5 to 1 Suzuki. So that's a huge difference. You need to know the specs on your motor. Know what you're dealing with. Know what RPMs you're at with what prop you are. Know what you want out of it. You call a guy like Rich at Leading Edge. You call Mercury's got great service. I mean, that's the other thing I like about them guys. You can look online and very easily find customer service number. As a matter of fact, when you get off, they have a little survey they want you to take to ask how your service was. Not a lot of people do that. You call them and you want to talk to them about props, they're going to kind of point you kind of in the right direction. It's hard to do that over the phone. PowerTech's real good about that too. So there is some help out there for you guys that are not knowledgeable. I'll give you another great option. All this, basically what you're hearing us say is you need to go test quite a few different props. Ken, I've dealt with at Prop Gods.
Prop Gods, that's what I'm saying.
You can go for like $90 an hour. Dude's got every prop around.
Yeah.
And you can go drop it in the water and just run different props. You find the one you want. Best $90 or $180 you will spend. I can promise you that.
Well, before we forget about this, we have a lot of people listening and watching that aren't in our area and necessarily don't do salt water. We all use stainless props.
Yes.
A lot of people, especially farther north you go, you get into the aluminum props. There's pros and cons, and I'll touch on this real short, and then I'll let y'all run with it. But aluminum props are cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Stainless steel costs more. So you look at your pros and cons there. Aluminum has a lot of flex in it. So that's, aluminum prop is cheaper, but if you hammer down, you're
performance-wise, you're going to lose.
Performance-wise, you're going to get the flex. Also, aluminum is not going to be good around oysters and sand and that kind of thing. But go ahead and if you're somebody up north listening or somebody that does the freshwater thing,
well, I just invited because this was a topic that I ran.
Give them the downs and ups and downs of the two versus each other.
Mike Goodwine, I'd put a post and I'd seen it, and I just invited him to this conversation because he was asking aluminum versus stainless. I mean, you won't catch me with aluminum prop. The aluminum prop is basically.
But they do have their place.
They do, yeah.
You got a 25 horsepower, and you're in a lake that. You're not going to be running through sand. Let's say it's a deep water lake. That's going to be fine for you.
We know a couple guides that run around every other day.
There's guys that they just.
There's one in particular.
It's not important.
Prop.
It's not important for them to.
I know for
to care enough to worry about their prop is what it seems like. But if you're bending prop shafts, if you're that guy that's going to be bending prop shafts and bending or breaking stainless steel props, go buy a half dozen aluminum props and be done with it. Yeah. I mean, that's just part of it.
You would not believe the amount of wear you're going to go through props.
Oh, on the aluminum side.
Oh, 100%. Here you will.
Sand. People don't realize that. Yeah, if you're running the flats with aluminum prop, it's going to eat the prop up. It's not like stainless.
No.
Even if you're not running the ground, it's going to eat it up.
But Lake Lanier, Georgia, you're not.
Right, right.
So, I mean, that's...
If you're running an 8-horse or 20-horse motor, do you really
even a 40-50?
But for $100 on a new aluminum prop or $400 on a new prop shaft, I mean... You pick it.
I would almost have to.
Chances of throwing a prop shaft or bending a prop shaft or breaking a prop on sand is highly likely. But I know a lot of guys that are running over oyster bars and rocks, especially believe it or not, up in north of here, Chaswiska, Tarpon String, up there, they run aluminum props.
Right.
Well, because
they got rocks. We have sand.
I agree. But I'm just saying that those are the reasons why you may choose an aluminum prop over performance or whatever.
Right.
If you're talking performance, just throw it out the window.
Oh, I agree.
There's so much flex. I mean, and when a company, even Mercury, Suzuki, they're making aluminum prop, they're knocking that thing around. It ain't no specs going in it. They're just making.
And I'll tell you something else too, and I think you guys will agree. But I have an aluminum prop that I keep in my boat
just for your spare.
As a spare, and that's something that we hadn't really talked about. I mean, for an inexpensive spare part to have on your boat, if you're one of those guys that are out there quite a bit and are running these shallow flats or in those areas where you think you may end up damaging a prop, get you an aluminum prop. It's an inexpensive thing to have on the boat that you can limp back with. The other part that, and I know Jason was going to talk about, is this hub kit. This is another great safety thing to have on the boat when you end up blowing a hub.
What I want to do, so this, and I'm partial to Mercury, I'll tell you right now, but I'm going to tell you right now, that this hub kit,
like that.
They have a couple patents on stuff. They have a patent on this TC3 alloy, whatever it is. It's way harder than stainless. They also have a patent on these hub kits. And these hub kits, let me explain something to you. A Mercury prop doesn't have a hub in it. So therefore, you can run a Mercury prop on any motor out there.
Yep.
What you buy are these hub kits. And if you have a 350, it's not the same. But these hub kits slide in like this. This pops in, and I got my 350. This is the 350 hub kit, which is knocked in there. These are hard to get out. But this plastic piece slides in like this, and then you got a thrust washer right here that goes on the lower unit. So it's like this, like this. This is going to slide in from the front, and then you're going to put this as like a bend-over tab. I don't know if you can see that. And then simple lock washer. Now, here's the beauty. Here is the beauty. This right here, when you spin a prop,
that's what you're spinning.
This is what you're going to spin.
Yep.
You could spin this prop, have one of these that are about $10 in the boat with a plastic prop wrench, get out in the water, knock the pieces of this out, stick this one in, be on your way.
So what is spinning a prop?
Spinning a prop is when you hit something and you jar it, and this is, you're talking about blowing lower units. This is something's going to break.
Right.
Something's going to break when you hit something.
But on a prop, let's not say a Mercury prop, on a Yamaha prop, that thing's pressed in, and you've got a rubber.
Yeah, rubber.
And that's what you spin. You hit something, and your motor still turns, but your prop can't. So that spins the inside of that rubber. So that's
your give. That's your fail.
Right. But if it don't, and you like you was talking about, you start messing up your prop shafts, that will keep you from doing that.
This is the same. So I'm going to use Yamaha. They have the rubber cush hub inside, as far as I know. So the difference between the rubber cush hub and this, the rubber cush hub, you got to take it to prop place to get fixed.
It's got to be pressed. That
this,
one there, you
can
just go by.
in the water and literally, you might bend your blade or whatever, but if you didn't do any damage to your prop, you knock this in, you're on your way.
There you go.
5 minutes, you're going. I mean, it's and these things are they're no more expensive than the hub kits and that the fact that you can run.
You're making it home because you have your spare. And you're not having to go spend $150 or $100. I can't remember the last time I
spun a hub.
But I mean I've done it, and I've had to go get them repressed, and it's $90 something. I don't remember what the cost was.
Well, that and the other thing is, so what happens over time is I've had these get hairline cracks from running the flats. You bog down a little bit. On a regular prop, you can spin a hub without hitting anything. It's just age.
Right.
Like the rubber gets dry rotted, whatever. Right. Well, when you do your 100-hour service, you have your lower unit, you look at this. If it's got a couple hairline cracks, you just pop this in, go on your way. The other prop, you got to take it in, get somebody to push it out.
In all fairness, sometimes if you do spin a hub, you can get back to where you're to the dock just on low RPMs. Sometimes,
it's designed to idle in.
Sometimes you can't, though. I mean, I've had it where you couldn't get back, and there's been times that because I've only spun a couple, and now I got this.
He's that guy's been hitting stuff on the fly. Maybe we need to get a little prop.
I've only spun a couple.
You've said it. You don't have to hit something, but yeah,
I don't know what happened.
I've also spun a prop before where as soon as you put it in gear, she's slipping, and you ain't going nowhere. I mean,
well, I hit something. I had years ago, it was on my Yamaha. I was running a Mercury hub kit, and had a kayaker kind of cut me off. And instead of running by him, I did a donut and swung around with customers. When I did a donut, there's an old
wooden boat,
wooden boat frame, and I hit the wooden boat frame, spun a prop. And I didn't have one of these on the boat.
Yeah.
And so I called Danny. Danny brought me one out. I jumped in the water, knocked this in, knocked it out. We came back in. Yeah. I didn't hurt the prop. I just spun my hub. So these are very handy. It just makes life easier. It makes it nice knowing that you've got that safety option. Robert's got.
I can also say this though, real quick, when you're doing that, because I've done that. Don't drop this. I've dropped that.
Yeah, you need that.
You got to have that.
It helps.
I found it.
Definitely
helps.
I found it.
Dissect
but it was digging around for a while, and
you were scuba Steving it.
Well, who would ever think in a foot and a half of water you could drop that and lose it?
Well, that's like on my boat. On my boat, I've got the Suzuki hub kit, the Flow Torque Suzuki kit for my Eco. I carry a whole kit, a whole hub kit. I carry an aluminum prop. Now, that's a Suzuki prop. It doesn't have a hub kit because it's just a spare in case something was to catastrophically go wrong. But the key to all of it is I've got a prop wrench. And I couldn't tell you how many people that have said, hey, I need help with it, and they don't have a prop wrench on their boat. They got everything else, but they don't have the prop wrench. So a hub kit or spare prop, however you want to line it up, a prop wrench, and I also carry a little piece of wood to tighten that prop back down, which is something that, if you got an extra, you can always wedge a towel or something in there, but something to keep that prop from spinning while you're tightening down that nut.
And so Robert had a question. He says, I got a 175 with annoying prop chatter between 500 and 700 RPMs. Was told that Mercury hub kit will eliminate this. Any info? I don't think it'll eliminate it.
I don't think a hub kit will.
No, actually it does. They have a chatter problem. I've heard of it. I don't think it eliminates it. It takes a lot of it out.
Just from going from a Yamaha prop.
Yamaha. It's the hub kit. So what this does is it takes some of the. So the chatter, I guess, is something with the gears and the motors got like basically I wouldn't call
a vibration,
a vibration or something, so where it's probably shaking the prop.
What motor is it?
It's a 175 Yamaha. I think it's Yamaha. I've heard of that problem. This will. I don't think it eliminates it. It takes some of it out. It's the same thing when when Mercury came out with the 350 and 400, these won't hold up to the horsepower. So when I first got my first motor, I had to go to a solid hub kit. Like when you hit something,
game over.
Yeah, you're smoking stuff, but that's all they had. Now they've come out with this press fit one, which is the same design as this, except for this one, you got to beat it out with a hammer. It's a little bit more involved, but that's what they come up with the 350. You can see it. It's actually locked in there. So, yeah, I think, answer your question, I think it does. It'll take some of that chatter out. I don't think it takes all of it out, but I think it will help. Robert, also check with Yamaha. I think they came out with some solutions to that. And I think there's not a fix, but I think there's something that makes it better. So I know that Mercury hub kits will help that. I think Yamaha's actually came out with a hub kit similar for that problem. So yeah, that's our prop story. I mean, like I said, guys, it's funny because people are so ate up with horsepower, but
right, you're right. That's the conversation. Did you see the new 350?
It's like you have a 1,000 horsepower car and you got 36 wheels on the back and
right,
you're just spinning them. It ain't working. Like you got to put the package together.
That's right.
It's just. He says Yamaha told me to go aluminum prop. No, that's not the answer.
Ooh,
call Suzuki.
Yeah,
get a new motor.
Boy, you must have got the new guy at Yamaha.
Yeah, no, aluminum prop might help it, but a chatter problem at idle has nothing to do with it has to do with the cush hub or the this part of it, this section of it.
Unless you got a lower unit that's getting ready to grenade.
Yeah, we've seen that before.
just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, interesting. That's interesting. I've heard of that chatter. There's a few of them that make some chatter like that. Particularly the Yamahas. They've got your motor. It's got that, like the 250s rev up, and when you shift them, they clank real hard in between gear. That is the weirdest deal.
Mine's very noisy.
Yeah, like when you go in and out of gear.
Yeah,
it's just even the 250 shows are the same way. Anything without the electronic shift just seems to be real clanking in and out. But
real quick, before we wrap up and we forget here, this is something that it was actually our trivia question, but it's something we didn't even talk about. So before we get off of here, guys, we're going to talk about it real quick. And our trivia question, which Chris Howell was the first one to get it right. So Chris, you're the lucky winner, buddy, right there. That's going to be the one. Get you a new trolling plug. So come on in to TFO, man. Check it out. But the question was, what is the ideal prop slip ratio or percentage that you look for between your prop and your boat?
And that's one thing we didn't talk about that I do want to mention. So it's Chris is
6%.
Around 6%. If you're getting 6% slip ratio or slip percent, that's another way that you can figure out if your prop's performing. Mercury has it on their website. I'm just throwing Mercury because I know that. There's plenty of stuff out there. You can find apps on your phone. Mm-hmm. Search prop calculator ratio. Basically, what you do is you take. Let me see if I remember. I think you take the pitch of the prop. You take the RPM of your engine and the speed at wide open throttle. You put that in the equation, and the calculator gives you a percent. If you're at 10 or 12% slip, you ain't right. Like, that's not good. You want to be, if you're at 6, you're jam up. I think I was like at 5 or something when I did it on this. So, and they've got apps. They've got apps on your smartphone all over the internet. Mercury's got one on Mercury Racing website, I know for a fact. But that really helps you. It's just one more key to really dialing it in. But that percent, you really want it in that 6 to 8, 9%.
And to get it much lower than that, you'd have to be running in wet
you just
concrete.
Can't. You're gonna have slip. Jello. You're gonna run in jello.
Yeah, run in jello.
So all this stuff are tools to make your boat, get it dialed in, get it perform the way get the most out of your boat. Mm-hmm.
And it is, man. Like, and I can't say it enough because there's people that won't believe it. But until you've been on a boat that's not propped right, and you run a boat and it just does not perform,
just if you got a boat, get a prop that ain't propped right for your boat,
and check the difference because I mean it will make the boat a totally different boat, and you'd be surprised on actually how much it actually does make a difference. Not only from the performance of the motor, but from the package, from the way the hull rides. That was my biggest thing. And Jason and I, we went back and forth on it. Jason's definitely more of a performance guy than I am. I wanted the best out of my boat for the ride and basically fuel economy like we talked about and whole shot. But the performance end of the thing, it was kind of like a second thought. You know, I really wanted my boat to ride good, and that was my biggest thing. And I knew that with what I was doing or the prop that I had originally, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And so for me, it was a minor adjustment, but it made a big difference to me running my boat. So if you think your boat's not running right, try.
Well,
changing
Travis,
the prop.
when you got that boat, and I had an idea. I was actually in left field with his boat because of the engine. The gear ratio was like, man, I don't even know where to start with this thing. We put the prop that runs good on my boat with the Mercury.
I was with Pickle out there that day running with y'all.
Yeah, and I was like, this thing is crazy. But Travis, you know, the good thing about you is you take, even if you don't know what you're talking about, you take the information in and you make sense of it and you figure it out.
Boom!
No, that was a good comment. No, but I'm saying, like, even if you don't know, and I think you have to do that. Wow. If you don't know what you're talking about a prop, take the time to figure it out. It's not rocket
it's
science.
definitely
educate yourself.
Well, see, that day that you're talking about, I jumped in Travis's boat and ran it, and before we went and picked you up, and the only thing that I saw was with the porter bracket, I was blowing it out because that thing is so much more reactive than
just that in itself. That in itself, and if you're and that was another thing too. Is setback is going to affect you probably just a little bit on some level if you're running like a flats boat that you don't have a jack plate. If you add a jack plate, or if you're running a porter bracket, all those things are going to make a difference. Especially if you have a boat and you add that to it.
Right.
Like if you've got a boat and you rebuild it and you add a porter bracket to it, you're probably not going to be using the same prop you used when he didn't have a porter bracket.
My
you may have to adjust it.
I didn't realize all the lost performance there because I hadn't been in that boat. I'd never ran that boat before. 30 minutes later, you get in the boat and you load, this ain't right. And I'm sitting here going, what ain't right about it? You know, other than blowing it out by running that porter bracket up too fast, I think this thing is running good.
And
then you took your knowledge from having that style boat, whatever, it's actually the same boat other than a tower. You've had that for however long. You knew right how to dial him in and get it. And
well, I will tell you this, from running, I ran Yamaha on a Canyon Bay for a while, and then when I went Mercury, Verados are different to prop out, and they're their own entity because they're a forced induction supercharged engine. It's only a 2.6 liter. Your engine's a 4.3 liter, but they use forced induction to get power out of them, and they turn a ton of RPMs. So when you go to prop it, it's a big change. It just the motor reacts different to props. 3 blades run better on that motor, in my opinion. Almost everyone I've ran on applications I've run. 4 blades just the whole shot. Typically it's backwards because you've always said, well, you put a 4 blade on for whole shot. Not on a Verado. I've never run one.
That's crazy.
I mean, like night and day. 3 blades run way better whole shot.
My boat was just totally
opposite. And a Yamaha, because I ran a 4 blade on the same boat, same Canyon Bay. I ran a 4 blade PTC PowerTech prop. Ran great with a 4 blade. Put that same prop on a Verado. Whole shot's horrible. It runs all right, but this whole shot's just horrible. So it's just every boat's got its own. You got to find that sweet spot in it.
And what you're happy with, you know. Some people, it's not a big deal. And, you know, if it runs, it runs, you know. But if you are looking to completely dial in your boat, a prop is a big deal. Yeah. I think that was really what we wanted to cover, was the fact that, it just seems like, hey, slap one on there and go. It'll work, but you're not going to be getting the most out of your boat.
And check out these hub kits, guys. Like I told you, they are golden. They go on every manufacturer motor made, and I think they're huge. Guys, don't forget, we are going to not charge half, not do anything, 10-foot humpback cast net. All you got to do is subscribe to our YouTube page.
And be the winner of the photo contest.
Go to our Facebook group, which is Tampa Fishing Outfitters Photo Contest. Yeah. Go there, join the group, post a picture. We're gonna put all those pictures in an album so that people can like them and share them or do whatever we're going to do. And between a panel of a few selected folks that we choose, we're going to pick a winner, and that winner is going to get a brand new 10-foot cast net. So don't miss that. The other thing real quick, because we got you one more time, Black Friday sale at Tampa Fishing Outfitters. First thing Friday morning from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., you're going to get 30% off selected brands and models. That's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. After 11 a.m., it's going to drop down to 20%, and that's store wide.
Until 2.
So and that's going to be 11 to 2. You're going to get 20%. If you can't make it out or you're running a little bit late, don't worry about it. The store's going to be open until 6 p.m. And from 2 to 6 p.m., you're going to get to reach in some kind of bucket, pull out either a fish or some coupon that they've got made up, and you're either going to get 5 to 30% off of your purchase that day in the store. So
and the same day,
a lot of good stuff.
Trade in, bring your cast net in, and get 40% off of hump net.
A similar. I want to stress that point.
Yeah.
Don't bring a
4-foot net and expect a 12-footer in return. You're not gonna get that, but it's a comparable net. Bring a 10-footer in, you'll get a 10-footer 40% off.
That's right. And then Saturday, if you missed the Friday sale, Saturday, Small Business Saturday, 15% off the whole store. So between Friday and Saturday, guys, get into Tampa Fishing Outfitters. Get your Christmas shopping done. Get some grab bag, get goodie stuff for you for the fishing season coming up. And
everybody have a safe Thanksgiving, and we're going to be back next week on Wednesday.
Yeah, guys, we do this show. We have a lot of people asking the first time they've seen it. 6 p.m. Wednesday evenings. We do about an hour-long show. We got all kinds of guests and topics. Spread the word. Share the show.
Going worldwide.
Make us famous. We're taking this thing to China.
We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Out, boys.
All right. I'm going to leave this up here for next week.
You gonna